Sometimes when a woman begins to ignore you, the first thought that comes to mind is that she's lost interest, that something changed, or that you did something wrong. But in reality, silence can often be a far more complex emotional language than most men realize. A woman's silence doesn't always mean rejection. It can mean conflict, confusion, or even fear of how deeply she feels. When emotions grow beyond what she can comfortably manage, her instinct may not be to move closer, but to retreat. And that retreat isn't always a sign that she's done with you. It's often a signal that she's trying to protect herself from her own vulnerability. You see, many women are emotionally intelligent, but also deeply cautious when it comes to attachment. They understand that once they allow their emotions to fully surface, they lose a sense of control. When she ignores you after showing interest, she's not just avoiding you. She's trying to quiet the internal noise that comes with feeling too much. This inner tug of war between wanting connection and fearing emotional exposure is something many women wrestle with silently. Her distance becomes a way to manage that storm within. Think of it like emotional self-preservation. When a woman starts to care about you more than she expected, it triggers a psychological tension. She begins to overthink, wondering if she's being too available, too transparent, too easy to read. Society has conditioned women to believe that showing too much interest might make them look weak or desperate. So instead of leaning in, she pulls back. Instead of expressing how she feels, she acts indifferent. But behind that calm, behind that silence, is a woman trying to regain emotional balance. What makes this dynamic even more powerful is that her silence often speaks louder than her words ever could. Her withdrawal isn't coldness, it's emotional processing. It's her way of testing the depth of her own feelings and, at the same time, observing yours. When she ignores you, she's watching to see how you respond. Do you panic? Do you chase? Do you turn bitter? Or do you remain centered and grounded? Because in that moment, she's not only managing her emotions, she's also assessing yours. This is where emotional maturity becomes the dividing line between connection and collapse. A man who understands the psychology behind her silence doesn't rush to fix it. He gives her space without making her feel punished for needing it. He stays consistent without becoming clingy, calm without becoming cold. That balance of emotional steadiness is what often draws her back. Because deep down, she's not ignoring you to end things, she's ignoring you to see if you're strong enough to handle her emotional depth. What many don't realize is that emotional conflict is often a sign of genuine care. Indifference doesn't create inner chaos. Feelings do. If she didn't care, she wouldn't need distance. Her silence, then, is not rejection, it's reverence for what she feels. She needs time to translate emotion into understanding. She needs time to ensure that what she's experiencing is real and not a passing infatuation. So when a woman ignores you, don't assume she's gone cold. See it for what it might truly be, a silent reflection of deep emotion struggling to find clarity. Most people panic when silence enters the picture, but the emotionally intelligent person listens to it instead. Silence is communication, it's energy, it's hesitation, it's fear. But most of all, it's proof that something inside her is moving. And maybe that's the point you need to hold on to. When she withdraws, it doesn't always mean you've lost her. Sometimes it means she's feeling you more deeply than she expected, and she's trying to understand what that means for her. Because when a woman's silence is born out of emotional conflict, it's not the end of connection, it's the beginning of a deeper one. Another hidden sign that a woman is thinking about you, even while ignoring you, is the subtle inconsistency in her energy. She may act distant, avoid communication, and give the impression that she's moved on, but her actions often tell a different story. You might notice her showing up where you are, suddenly liking an old photo or asking mutual friends how you've been. She may appear detached on the surface, yet she remains emotionally tethered to you in ways she can't quite hide. This duality, the push and pull between emotional withdrawal and subtle re-engagement, reveals that she's not done with you, she's wrestling with her feelings. You see, women rarely ignore out of disinterest alone. More often, it's because something inside them feels too exposed. When emotional attachment deepens, so does the fear of rejection or vulnerability. Ignoring you becomes a defense mechanism, a way to regain a sense of control over emotions that have grown too powerful. But human emotion doesn't obey logic. Even when she chooses distance, her thoughts betray her. She checks your online status, notices when you're active, wonders who you're talking to, all while pretending to be indifferent. It's a silent contradiction that comes from a heart caught between desire and caution. This internal tug of war is rooted in psychology. Attraction triggers uncertainty because it disrupts emotional equilibrium. For a woman who values emotional safety, that disruption feels dangerous. She's not ignoring you because she doesn't care. She's ignoring you because she cares too much and doesn't trust what might happen if she continues to engage. So she oscillates, warm one moment, cold the next, reflecting the inner storm she's trying to manage. Her silence becomes a paradox, an act of control that reveals how little control she actually feels. Men often misunderstand this inconsistency. They see her withdrawal as rejection, when in reality it's hesitation. And hesitation is often the shadow of deep emotion. If she didn't care, there would be no hesitation, only indifference. But when she ignores you while simultaneously finding ways to stay connected, it's because her emotions are active beneath the surface. She's thinking about you, replaying moments, analyzing your behavior, and wondering if you notice her distance. That quiet tension between what she feels and what she shows is one of the clearest signs that she's emotionally invested. The key, however, lies in your response. Most men either chase harder or shut down completely. But neither response creates emotional safety for her. The real power lies in your ability to stay grounded, to neither beg for attention nor mirror her withdrawal with resentment. When a man maintains calm assurance, he communicates emotional strength, and that steadiness has a magnetic effect. It tells her that you're not driven by insecurity, and that, paradoxically, gives her the freedom to drop her guard. When she senses that her silence doesn't shake your sense of self, she begins to feel safer around you, even from afar. That's when curiosity returns. She starts wondering why you're not reacting the way she expected, why you're not chasing, why you're still calm, collected, and present in your own energy. That quiet curiosity begins to pull her back in, because emotional security is irresistible to someone who's been living in emotional chaos. This is why emotional control is so powerful, not as a tactic, but as a reflection of maturity. When you stop reacting and start understanding, you shift from being just another man she dated to the man who sees her, even in her silence. That's what makes her think of you long after she's stopped talking to you. So, the next time she pulls away, don't rush to close the gap. Let her silence reveal what her words can't. Because often, the most powerful proof that she's still thinking about you isn't in what she says or does. It's in how inconsistent she becomes when she's trying not to feel. Remember this, inconsistency isn't confusion, it's emotion in disguise. And when a woman can't keep her energy steady around you, it's not because she's lost interest, it's because she's lost control of how deeply she feels. Another hidden sign that a woman is thinking about you, even while she's ignoring you, is her emotional reactivity to your presence. She may act like you no longer matter, but her emotions betray her whenever you're near, or even when your name comes up in conversation. You can feel it in the energy shift, the sudden change in her tone, the hesitation in her speech, the way her body tenses or her eyes avoid yours. Those aren't random reactions. They are signals of an emotional connection that she's trying hard to suppress but can't truly escape. When a woman truly doesn't care, there's calmness. She can see you, talk to you, or even hear about you without her emotions flaring. But when she does care, when she's still emotionally attached, her composure wavers. You might notice her getting irritated over small things, dismissing your presence with exaggerated indifference, or showing unexpected frustration when she hears about you spending time with someone else. These emotional spikes aren't signs of hate, they're signs of unresolved affection. Because beneath that irritation lies a question she won't voice. Why do I still feel this way? This emotional tension stems from something deeper, the conflict between desire and pride. Women, especially those who are emotionally self-aware, often struggle to reconcile vulnerability with self-respect. When feelings for a man start to grow beyond their control, their instinct is to regain emotional authority. So they distance themselves. They try to detach, but emotional detachment isn't achieved by ignoring someone. It's achieved through emotional indifference. And that's where most women fail. Because you can ignore a person's messages, but you can't ignore your own emotional reactions. Every time her heart races when she sees your name, every time she overthinks why you haven't texted, every time she gets defensive in a conversation that mentions you, that's proof that she's still emotionally bound. She might try to hide it, masking those feelings behind attitude, sarcasm, or coldness. But here's the truth. Emotional reactivity is the mind's way of revealing what the heart refuses to admit. Men often mistake these reactions as negative or dismissive behavior, but they are actually indicators of deep emotional engagement. When she gets triggered by your silence, your confidence, or your interactions with others, it's not because she's unaffected. It's because she's too affected. The person who truly doesn't care doesn't react. And that's where most men go wrong. They take her emotional reactions personally, when in reality, they're proof that she's still emotionally invested. The mature approach isn't to respond defensively or to feed into the tension, but to observe it with calm awareness. When a man recognizes that her emotional volatility is born out of connection, not rejection, he gains power, not over her, but over himself. He realizes that his composure can either soothe or intensify her internal conflict. If he mirrors her chaos, she retreats deeper into her defense mechanisms. But if he stays centered, unbothered, and kind, he becomes a mirror of stability, something her emotions quietly crave. The beauty of emotional maturity lies in restraint. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to let her feel what she feels without trying to fix it or force a response. Because emotions are self-revealing, they eventually guide a person back to what they've been avoiding. And when a woman's emotions remain activated by your presence, time won't dull it. It will only make her more aware of how deeply you've affected her. So, if you notice that she reacts, even subtly, to your presence, to your silence, to your confidence, don't rush to interpret it as hostility. Recognize it for what it truly is, a sign of emotional attachment she's trying to manage. Because a woman who's moved on doesn't flinch, doesn't frown, doesn't freeze. She simply feels nothing. But the one who can't stop thinking about you, she'll feel everything and try desperately to hide it. Remember this, emotions don't lie. Words can conceal, actions can confuse, but energy always tells the truth. And when her emotions react to you, even in silence, it's not a sign of indifference. It's a sign that you still matter more than she's willing to admit. Another powerful, yet easily misunderstood sign that a woman is thinking about you, even while she's ignoring you, is her silent curiosity. The way she keeps tabs on you without ever appearing to do so. You might think she's moved on because she no longer calls, no longer texts, or perhaps even acts indifferent when you cross paths. But beneath that calm exterior lies a deep, almost unconscious pull toward your world. a curiosity she cannot fully silence. She may not speak to you directly, but she listens when others mention your name. She might check your social media late at night, scroll through your posts, or subtly ask mutual friends how you're doing. It's her way of staying close without revealing that she still cares. This kind of quiet observation comes from a psychological paradox. When someone tries to detach emotionally, their mind often does the opposite. The more they try not to think about you, the more they end up doing exactly that. This is known as the ironic process theory in psychology. The act of suppressing a thought actually strengthens its hold over the mind. So, when she tries to push away her feelings by ignoring you, her attention doesn't disappear. It just shifts form. It becomes curiosity, subtle, hidden, but very much alive. What's fascinating is how this curiosity manifests. It's rarely loud or obvious. Instead, it shows up in small details. Her sudden presence on your stories, the fact that she remembers things you said months ago, or how she reacts when she sees you interact with other women. She might not say a word, but her energy gives her away, because when a woman is still emotionally invested, she subconsciously monitors what she values. And when she values you, you become the quiet center of her mental focus, even if she's pretending to be indifferent. At its core, this behavior isn't about control, it's about connection. She's torn between wanting to stay detached and wanting to stay informed. Her curiosity is a reflection of emotional, unfinished business. She's not ready to let go, but she's also not ready to admit she still cares. So, she does what feels emotionally safer. She observes from a distance. And that distance, ironically, only amplifies her attachment. Because distance can protect the ego, but it can't silence the heart. Men often misread this as games or manipulation, but in truth, it's vulnerability wearing armor. Her curiosity is the mind's way of keeping the emotional connection alive while trying to maintain dignity. She might think she's in control by not reaching out, but her attention betrays her. Attention is emotional currency, and wherever we invest it, that's where our heart truly resides. So, if you ever sense that she's quietly keeping up with your life, noticing changes, commenting indirectly, or even showing up where you happen to be, don't dismiss it. That's not coincidence. That's emotional gravity. It's her soul's way of staying close to something it hasn't finished feeling. And often, when women act like they're over you, but still engage in this silent curiosity, they're testing both you and themselves. They want to see if you'll chase, but more importantly, they want to see if they can truly walk away without looking back. The irony is, the more she tries to ignore you externally, while staying connected internally, the more her feelings intensify. Because curiosity feeds attachment. Every time she checks your profile, every time she wonders what you're doing, she's reinforcing the emotional bond she's trying to break. And deep down, she knows it. That's why she often feels conflicted. Drawn to you one moment and cold the next. It's not confusion, it's emotional resistance. When you, as a man, understand this pattern, you begin to see beyond her silence. You realize that her curiosity isn't weakness. It's evidence of care she's not ready to acknowledge. And rather than reacting to it, you let it unfold naturally. Because in emotional dynamics, the one who observes without reacting gains power. Not power over the other person, but power over himself. You no longer chase validation, you embody calm assurance. And that energy, grounded, confident, patient, is what pulls her closer, even when she's pretending not to care. So the next time she ignores you, yet somehow seems to always know what's happening in your life, don't be quick to assume she's detached. The truth is, she's just trying to control what she can't stop feeling. Her silence might say she's moved on, but her curiosity whispers the truth her pride can't admit. Remember this, when someone is truly done, they stop paying attention. Curiosity is the mind's confession that the heart still remembers. And when her curiosity keeps finding its way back to you, even in silence, it's because she's still emotionally where you left her, thinking, wondering, and feeling more than she'll ever say out loud. Another deeply revealing sign that a woman is thinking about you, even while she's ignoring you, lies in the emotional tension between her words and her behavior. You'll notice it in the inconsistency, when her actions don't quite match the image she's trying to project. She may appear indifferent, act like she's moved on, or even claim she doesn't care anymore. But then something slips through, a tone in her voice, a small act of jealousy, or the way her energy shifts when you're around. It's as if she's fighting an internal battle. Her mind says, "Don't show him you care." But her emotions whisper the opposite. This tension happens because emotional suppression rarely works the way people hope it will. When a woman tries to suppress how she feels, those emotions don't disappear. They get stored. They linger in her body, her tone, her eyes, and her reactions. That's why even in moments of silence, her behavior tells a story her words never could. You can feel it in her hesitation, the way she avoids eye contact a little too deliberately, or how she becomes overly casual in conversation, like she's trying too hard not to reveal that she still feels something. Psychologically, this happens because emotions seek expression. Suppression creates pressure, and pressure eventually leaks out in subtle ways. When she ignores you, she's not always doing it because she's done with you. Sometimes she's doing it because she's still affected by you. She's trying to maintain control, to convince herself she's detached, but her emotions keep breaking through the cracks. It's a silent tug of war between logic and longing, one that most people can't sustain for long. You see, when someone truly moves on, there's peace. Their reactions fade, their curiosity diminishes, and your presence no longer stirs anything inside them. But when she still reacts, even through anger, avoidance, or indifference, that's not detachment, that's emotional residue. It means something inside her is unresolved. And what's unresolved doesn't disappear, it hides beneath the surface, waiting for the right trigger to resurface. You'll often notice this when she reacts more strongly than the situation calls for. Maybe you post something online and she suddenly unfollows you. Maybe she avoids you completely after seeing you with someone else. Or maybe she goes out of her way to act as if she's unaffected. The intensity of those reactions isn't about what you did. It's about what she still feels. Indifference doesn't flinch, only attachment does. This emotional contradiction, the distance she keeps versus the emotion she reveals, is one of the clearest indicators that she's still thinking about you. It's her heart trying to protect itself from the very feelings that make her vulnerable. And it's important to understand that this isn't manipulation, it's self-defense. Emotional exposure feels risky, especially when she doesn't know how you feel in return. So she hides her care behind coolness, hoping it'll protect her from disappointment. But in doing so, she creates the very confusion she's trying to avoid. As a man, the key isn't to chase her to prove her wrong or to call out her mixed signals. It's to see through them with emotional intelligence. To recognize that her inconsistency isn't rejection, it's fear. Fear of being too open, too attached, too transparent. When you understand that, you stop reacting to her surface behavior and start paying attention to the emotional truth beneath it. You start seeing her not as someone playing games, but as someone fighting herself. And in that understanding lies your power. Because real power in emotional dynamics isn't about forcing connection. It's about creating safety. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she stops pretending, her walls lower, her behavior aligns with her feelings. But that safety can only exist when you hold your own ground, when you remain calm, grounded, and unaffected by her contradictions. So, when you sense this emotional tension, when she says one thing but her energy says another, don't react impulsively. Just observe. Let her actions reveal what her pride is trying to hide. Because the truth is, indifference doesn't leave traces, but emotional conflict does. And when her actions keep betraying her words, it's because you still occupy a space in her heart that her mind hasn't figured out how to let go of yet. Remember this. When a woman's words and energy don't align, always trust the energy. Words can lie, pride can hide, but energy never deceives. The more she fights to appear unaffected, the deeper the connection she's trying to conceal. And that's silent contradiction. It's not distance. It's proof that you still matter. Sex, the final and perhaps most subtle sign that a woman is thinking about you, even while ignoring you, is when she unconsciously mirrors your emotional rhythm. You might notice this in the way her moods seem to fluctuate with yours. Even when you're not in direct contact, it's almost as if her emotions are tuned to yours. When you withdraw, she grows restless. When you reappear in some small way, she softens, even if she tries to hide it. This connection is not always conscious, but it's deeply psychological. It speaks to the invisible energetic bond that lingers between two people who once shared emotional intensity, attraction, or unfinished business. When a woman still feels connected to you, she doesn't always need your presence to feel your influence. That's the strange thing about emotional bonds. They exist beyond logic. They operate on subtle cues, memories, and emotional patterns that replay subconsciously. You might be silent, yet she suddenly thinks of you. You might post something without her seeing it directly, yet she somehow feels your energy shift. This isn't mystical, it's psychological resonance. The brain holds onto emotional patterns tied to specific people, and when those emotional memories are triggered, they recreate the same internal response. That's why you may notice her pulling away, only to circle back with sudden curiosity. Or why she avoids you for days, yet checks your social media, or asks mutual friends about you in casual, dismissive tones. She may act indifferent, but she's still responding to your energy. Her silence isn't emptiness, it's processing. And in that space of processing, you still occupy her thoughts. What's fascinating is that this dynamic often reveals the most authentic part of her feelings. Because when someone is pretending not to care, but their behavior contradicts that pretense, the contradiction itself is emotional evidence. She might tell herself she's done, but her body language, her timing, and her curiosity betray her truth. She can suppress her communication, but she can't suppress her emotional frequency. Every time she thinks of you, whether with affection, frustration, or nostalgia, she's acknowledging that something within her remains unresolved. Now, here's where many people misunderstand this stage. They see her distance as rejection and immediately react by chasing, questioning, or trying to win her attention again. But the wiser response is to remain still, because her silence, while confusing, often serves as a mirror of her own inner conflict. When you stay calm and centered, you give her the space to confront that conflict. She begins to feel the contrast between your stability and her emotional turbulence. And that contrast awakens clarity within her. This is not about manipulation, it's about awareness. When you understand that her distance isn't always a door closing, but sometimes a defense mechanism, you stop personalizing it. You stop feeding the emotional push and pull dynamic that keeps both of you stuck. Instead, you begin to embody emotional maturity, the kind that quietly communicates. I understand. I'm here, but I'm not chasing confusion. That kind of energy changes the dynamic entirely. It takes the power out of the game and restores balance to the connection. Because ultimately, emotional attraction isn't sustained by words or proximity, it's sustained by presence. When you maintain emotional presence, grounded, patient, and unbothered, it creates a gravitational pull that most people can't ignore. It allows her to feel your value without your constant effort to prove it. And when a woman who's been ignoring you begins to sense that energy, your calm confidence, your non-reactive peace, it often stirs something deeper in her. It reminds her of the connection she's been trying to suppress. The truth is, emotional bonds don't disappear simply because someone stops talking. They fade only when there's closure. And most hidden connections don't end with closure. They end with confusion. And confusion always leaves the door slightly open. So if she's ignoring you, but seems emotionally restless, it's not disinterest. It's evidence of that open door. It's the space between denial and desire, between pride and vulnerability. And that's the lesson